10 things you need to know about Kathy Ames. Number one, she is a monster. She's Anton Chigurh. She is Darth Vader. She has a C name. There's Cain in the Bible. There's Cyrus, Adam's father. Charles, Adam's brother. Cat, the bartender, the barkeep that Adam meets with the mark of Cain. And here is Kathy, totally embodying the C name in that she is a monster. And yet Steinbeck makes a contrast. Charles, we're not told by biology, by nature is evil. I think we're led to think in the first few chapters that Charles turns out the way he is because he has a 17-year-old mother dying of consumption and a father who is the devil. And so I think that we're supposed to think because of his name and because of his parenting, his nurturing, or rather lack of, that we're supposed to think that Charles falls much more on the nurture. That's what makes Charles an evil brother trying to kill his brother, sociopath. But Steinbeck speaks out here and he says that just as there are physical malformities, physical birth defects, why can't there be mental and evil birth defects? Why can't Kathy just be born that way? And in fact, Steinbeck pulls no punches, at least the edition I'm reading, on the very top of the second page of the chapter. He says it is his thesis that is what Kathy's problem is. She was born that way, and she is an absolute monster. So number one, Kathy is a monster. Number two, she's attractive, but not in the way that we traditionally think of the word attractive. In that, she invites people's gaze. They are horrified by what they see, but they're also interested in it, so they glance back. And this is not different to Kathy, because that's the only life she's ever experienced, and yet she is different from the rest of us in that you sort of have to look at her. You don't want to look at her, but then you have to look at her again. And so Kathy is attractive in that weird way. Number three, she doesn't care what you think. She doesn't care what the other kids think. She is a standout. She doesn't go along with the crowd, which reminds me of Cyrus's wise fatherly advice to Adam upon him reaching his late teens and almost reaching the age of going to the military. If you remember, Cyrus told Adam that one of the greatest benefits of being in the military, how the military makes a man out of you, is you learn to conform. You learn to shrink into nobody yourself, to just think and do and say only what other people say. And Kathy here is obviously the opposite of that. And if we remember, Adam finally learned that not in the military, but in prison. That was the only way that he could avoid beatings from his father and his brother. He found the same was true in prison as well. If he would shrink to nothing, if he would completely conform and not stick out, that minimizes the amount of beatings or the times that you would get arrested. Not so Kathy here. She simply does not care what you think at all or what the other kids think. And Steinbeck notes that as far as fashion choices, that actually made her kind of a leader, kind of a trendsetter, in that other kids would copy her because she certainly wasn't copying other kids. Number four, she is a liar. And just like the devil, Cyrus himself, she is the exact same type of liar that Cyrus is, in that there's always an element of truth in her lies, so it seems true. And when she's telling the truth, it seems false. But Steinbeck says wisely, if you tell the truth as if it's a lie, when people doubt you and then they go check it out that you actually were telling the truth when you seem to be telling a lie, then that creates a storehouse, a Costco-sized warehouse of trust and belief in you, really gives you credibility. And so Kathy would always mix the truth and a lie, like the devil in the Garden of Eden, like the devil that is Adam's father, so too this monster, Kathy, can mix a truth and a lie. Number five, sexuality. She notices at a young age that everyone has a vice And especially Steinbeck notes at that time of puritanical American culture, when not only did people have sexual vices, sexual urges, but they were repressed as far as conversation. And so not only could sexuality be used against people, but people's shame attached to their sexuality could be and would be used against them by Kathy. And boy, did she learn this at a very young age. There is an extremely disturbing story told about 10-year-old Kathy, where it seems like she's already, if you put all the clues together, I can't help but think that Steinbeck is making us think that as a 10-year-old, she encountered her first 2 clients as a prostitute for 5 cents each. Horrified mother discovers her story just doesn't add up. The father knows it. Something related to her hands couldn't possibly have been tied down the way she describes. Put that together with the 2 boys' testimony that it was in fact Kathy's idea, and Kathy's own father knows that she's a liar, and so she, at the age of 10, is already using people's sexuality against them. Number 6, people in individual level were both ashamed and attracted to her. So Steinbeck says that Kathy almost never walked home alone, that boys, and a few girls, but boys, they wanted to be with her, they wanted a intimate encounter with her, but at the same time, they didn't want to be known to have an intimate encounter with her, and so people were always popping out of bushes like bunny rabbits, striking up conversations. So there was, again, mixed messages here. There's an attraction, but a not wanting to have an attraction to this person. So that's probably what makes her, part of what makes her such a monster. Number 7, Steinbeck does not actually say that she's a thief, but he instead puts us, the reader, in the mind of Kathy's father, who suspects that no one could have this good fortune. No one is just finding gold watches and $20 bills all the time. And so he has a suspicion that he doesn't like to admit to himself that he has, that Kathy somehow comes by material objects that are worthwhile and does so often. So number 7, Kathy is either a thief or just the luckiest person who's ever lived. Number 8, she is smart. At a time when young girls would finish their education in what we would call junior high age or middle school, she goes right on to high school. So she does not lack intelligence and academic veracity, academic ability. However, when she's there, she is the very definition of a troublemaker. And this poor seminary dropout, God knows what happened to have him drop out of seminary, or maybe even, if you read closely, maybe even expelled or let go or not wanted at seminary, becomes Kathy's Latin teacher as just a 14-year-old. And again, Steinbeck doesn't tell us, but if you piece together clues, no doubt Kathy has done some sort of seduction that has taken this broken young man's spirit, already rejected from seminary, now overwhelmed with guilt, who commits suicide, and he commits suicide in the most religious, holy of places, on a Bible, on a book of common prayer, with candles, in a church. This man ends his life. And so she's a good student, but is an absolute sociopath when it comes to her teacher. Again, probably. Steinbeck doesn't blame it, but why is he even telling the story in the first Kathy chapter if that's not indeed what happened? And even if she didn't do it, the fact that Steinbeck would make us think that something she did led to this poor young man's suicide shows something about her character. Number 9, she's an academic at 14, but by 16, something snaps, something changes, and she just decides she's not going to school anymore. Then when the father talks tough, even though he's not tough, she runs away. He finds her, and then he comes back and he physically beats her. And all of a sudden, she is completely compliant, and she's more than compliant. She is actually helpful. But this is all a setup. You can feel that her heart hasn't changed, her mind hasn't changed. Surprisingly, beating her hasn't made her more loving and less of a sociopath. And all of a sudden, she takes this keen interest in her father's business. So she drops out of high school, runs away, takes a keen interest in her father's business. And finally, number 10, she is a double murderer, an arsonist, and a thief. Seems like she burns her parents alive, locks them in their own house, and steals her father's money, and not only does all that, but makes it look like she's also a victim of this robbery homicide. And so Kathy gets away, and she almost, on her way out of town, claims another victim in that someone who is mentally challenged or mentally ill is set up to be tried as a criminal to do time or get the death penalty for the crimes that Kathy actually did. And so here we have Kathy, our true monster of the novel. Yes, Cyrus was the devil, but Kathy is so much worse than Cyrus could ever dream of being, and we'll get the second half of her life in the next chapter.